Well, good afternoon everybody, this is Lee, your virtual airline pilot, back with you on another scenery review. We are in Portugal on the island of Madeira, and you're looking at Funchal International Airport in Madeira. This is the new payware scenery for Flight Simulator 2020 by AmSim, currently available on Orbix. There were three reasons I wanted to have a close look at this scenery. One, it's very popular among desktop pilots due to its unusual location and challenging approach. Lots of pilots fly into this place in the other sims. It was well developed for FSX and Prepare 3D by the likes of Airsoft, and now we have our first payware version for Flight Sim 2020. And the other thing, at the moment the forums are full of people reporting issues and problems with this scenery in various guises and bits and pieces, so I thought we would have a look. As I say, it's by developer AmSim, currently downloads at 936 megs, and the installation is 2.37 gigabytes. Prices, okay, it's available direct from their Orbix website, currently €10.06, or US $11.13, or UK £8.44. You should add tax and VAT to these prices, depending on your country of purchase, and those conversions are essentially as of today's conversion rates. So as I said, scenery available by Orbix, and it's available now. It's released a couple of days ago. I should explain there's a freeware fix on the flightsim.to website called Madeira Water Fix by developer called Rednep SUS or Rednep SUS. It's only 20k. Well, what it does do, it fixes some of the trees and some of the water effects that actually were seen in this scenery before. For example, up here going up the mountain you had water going up here like a river flowing uphill, and another one up here, and there are various coastline tree and water issues around the whole island and one or two other islands. Details are in the on the file description on the website, but essentially he fixes a lot of those problems and removes a lot of that water, and now the airport does look a little bit better. Basically it fixes water and trees, and he says auto-generated rivers are removed in Madeira and Porto Santo, trees removed on beaches and shores of Madeira, Porto Santo and the smaller islands, and a larger building removed in Camacha, Madeira. So let's start with some history. So Cristiano Ronaldo International Airport Madeira, commonly known as Madeira Airport and also known as Santa Catarina Airport, is located in the parish of Santa Cruz in Funchal on the eastern side of the island of Madeira in the country of Portugal. Positioned in the Portuguese archipelago and autonomous region of Madeira, the airport's 8.2 miles or 13.2 kilometres northeast of the regional capital Funchal. The airport hosts flights to European destinations and is pivotal in the movement of cargo in and out of the archipelago of Madeira. It's the fourth busiest airport in Portugal. In 2016 it was renamed after local Madeira native Cristiano Ronaldo, who is widely considered to be one of the greatest footballers of all time. This airport was considered to be one of the most difficult and dangerous places to land due to constant shifting winds coming down off the cliffs, frequent wind shear, and having no straight-in approach option to either runway 05 or 23. The runway itself is perched on a plateau close to the cliff wall and was considered very short and more challenging until the runway was extended to over 9,000 feet or 2,700 metres in October of 2002. Madeira was a captain's only landing, and special requirements must be met in order for the flight crew to operate into this airport. Captain must have at least 200 hours on type and must have performed within the last 6 months one landing and takeoff, or a simulator landing and takeoff in adverse weather conditions, or a line training flight into Madeira assisted by a qualified instructor in the right hand seat. In addition to these requirements, airlines must have a valid training program that concentrates on Madeira operations. These requirements are mandatory. Madeira is ranked as the 9th most dangerous airport in the world and the 3rd most dangerous in the whole of Europe. In 2016, Madeira Airport was modernised and renovated by its operator, Aeroportos de Portugal, as part of an €11 million investment. The renovated terminal area, which was opened in June 2016 by the President of Portugal, Miguel Albuquerque, improved the existing facility and resulted in the creation of a brand new shopping area, doubling the airport's overall capacity. Some 31 airlines operated into Madeira before COVID. Passenger figures for 2018: over 3.1 million passengers passed through the airport, with over 25,000 aircraft movements. Runways. Madeira has a single runway, 0523, 9,124 feet or 2,781 meters long, and is made from asphalt. Both ends of the runway feature a high-intensity airfield lighting system, HAILS, and precision approach path indicators, or PAPIs. Due to the positioning of the runway and the adjacent terrain, the airport was known as the Kai Tak of Europe and has no ILS option available at either runway. Instead, the runways both ends have an RMP visual, VOR and circling visual approach options for landing at both ends of the runway. Now, the charts basically say high intensity airfield lighting system plus PAPIs. You can see the approach lights are actually missing from this end. We're looking down runway 05, but we do have runway end identifier lights, and we have the PAPIs and touchdown zone lighting, as well as the center line. So we've actually got a lot more, just the approach lights are missing here. However, as you can see there, you have lead-in lights on the side of the cliff wall on the approach to 05, rather similar to the strobe lighting that existed at the old Kai Tak airport. Basically, you would come down the Kai Tak IGS, aim for the checkerboards, and as you got close to the turning point, you'd see these strobe lights leading you into the runway. And they have that at many airports. So here you can see they're positioned along the cliff line, not actually in front of the runway. And here we are looking down the approach to runway 23. As you can see, this runway does have the high intensity airfield lighting system approach lights, as well as the runway end identifier lights, touchdown zone lighting, and the center line. It also has PAPIs, although it has only one on one side. According to the charts, they should have both, but that also depends on whether the charts are in date. I always check the Navigraph charts just to see. And there in the distance on the other end, you can see the lead-in lights to runway 05. So an asphalt runway that was originally quite a short runway, just over 5,000 odd feet, and then was extended now to over 9,000 feet. And there you can see the sort of the bridge poles that were sunk into the island that are created to actually extend the runway a lot further here, right out to the end. And here's the same constructed end of the runway in the daytime, so you can see it a little bit better. So there we are. That was some history for you and a quick look generally at this airport with the facilities, and to explain a bit more about it. Now what I'm going to do now, I want to first have a look at the default Asobo airport as it is, before we then load this new scenery by AmSim, just to have a look at the very quick look at the default airport generally, and to see how much better, if any, the new sim is. Okay folks, so here we are with the default Asobo enhanced airports. As far as I understand it, Asobo this is one of the enhanced airports. But this is the default airport as it stands. The water fix and the new AmSim scenery have been completely removed. The only other add-ons I've got is that the world updates are all installed and up to date. So we're looking closely at the default airport as it stands. As you can see, it's a little bit more basic than the payware one, but it's from here it doesn't look too bad at all. So let's get down and have a look across the runway and the ramp area, going up to the threshold of runway 23, and just have a look and see how it is. So there you can see the famous stone wall with the road going across it, and we've got some cars and brickwork. Runway looks fine. and you've got a road on the northern side of the runway. Not sure if that's correct. I will have a look at the map in a minute. I'll have a look and check. So here's the main apron. Just go down a bit lower. You've got buildings are fairly basic. Well, the terminal doesn't look too bad at all. It looks quite nice. And there you've got the famous sign. And coaches and buses there. And a little bit more down here. I think there's a tunnel there, I'm not sure. But you've got vehicles coming out. Today you've got vehicles coming out of the supposed tunnel under the airport there. And of course here's the famous runway extension brickwork that you see. Looks a lot darker in the default here, but nevertheless it's there. The runway's there, the turning points are well marked. All looks quite good. And there you can see the lead-in lights for the approach there onto runway 23. So here we cross the main terminal area at the rear. I just want to have a look at the roads and the trees. So there you've got the highway that goes behind the airport there, and some development there behind the terminal complex itself. We've got the airport sign, and here's a look at the development here, landside in the other direction. All looks pretty nice. Seawall. Quite pleasant. Okay, nothing seriously to write home about, but obviously this is a huge improvement over the likes of FSX and P3D, and it works well with the default scenery of the island. And just a quick look at the approach to runway 05. As you can see, those lead-in lights that we had along the cliff wall are not included in the default scenery. And just a general look at the lighting. As you can see, the runway and approach areas, the landside road there, and you have blue airfield edge lights are all nicely arranged. Come down a little bit and have a look at the terminal itself and the landside area. So here's the airside area. You've got adequate lighting. I'd just describe it as adequate really. It lights up the area, but not an awful lot more than that. Terminal looks okay. And here, quick cert over the landside area. You can see the lighting's quite pleasant here too. Looks very nice indeed, but still fairly simplified when you compare with the payware. But we'll now get to the payware version and have a look. But this scenery, to be honest, in my opinion, is more than adequate for those of you who don't want the payware. You've got everything there, looks okay. So there's the airport at dusk. As you can see, it looks quite nice, very more than acceptable as a free and slightly enhanced addition to the default scenery as described by Asobo. I should say to you, I flew in here yesterday for British Airways Virtual. Unfortunately, I installed the new scenery over the top of the default Asobo. I forgot to remove it. I didn't notice any anomalies except when I left the runway. We had literally bumps and hills and things taxiing in, although I managed to get to the stand and park, that was a little bit of a problem. But I used the recording thing to record it so I could get the landing from the passenger view. And strangely enough, afterwards I removed the default and just left the new payware scenery in, and the moment I left the runway and taxied in, I had a sim crash. And I think this is due to elevation differences between the default Asobo enhanced scenery here and the new AmSim version, payware version. So I think that's pretty much solved that as it is there. So let's get back to the payware one now and have a look, close look, and see how it compares. So there you go. That was a brief look at the default Asobo enhanced airport for Madeira. Now we're back in the AmSim version with the water fix installed. Let's get down low properly and have a good look over the detail. Firstly, the ramp area and the terminals. Have a look at that, and then we'll have a closer look at the runway and the surrounding terrain, just to see how nicely developed this is. So here we are. We start at the southwest end, rather threshold of runway 05. As you can see, there is a marked improvement. You've got the flags there, and the buttress at the bottom there where the road is has been nicely done. Foliage looks okay. I think there are one or two anomalies, but we'll have a look in a minute. It's not a problem. Got the street lights there. Be interesting to see how they look in the low light. Let's come down a little bit lower. As you can see, you've got the buildings that to some extent were there before in the default version, but they're much more enhanced here. Little things like the lights there, vehicles strewn various places. Got the fire station below us there. We'll look a bit closer in a minute. There's debris and bits and pieces over the ramp area. Just slow this a little bit. There you've got my aircraft parked there. Now that's weird. Oh, it's okay, it's corrected itself. So there we are. Looks really nice on the ramp. I believe that this update to version 1.1, they've removed the static aircraft, so you've got plenty of places to park, which is a good thing. So we just traverse across the airside area again. You can see people there on the terrace at the top there. Road markings look good. Generally the ramp detail looks good. The stairs, the mobile stairs, I'm not too sure what they're doing. They sort of move and then stop and move again, but we will see in a minute. Buses, ramp markings are excellent. Bits of oil around everywhere. It looks nice. It is a big improvement on the default, and looks really good. Coming up to the edge of the ramp now. Here you've got the buttress blast shield there that goes, that basically is an attempt to stop the noise. But unfortunately there you've got the road going through the buttresses, which is a pity. But now we're coming to the part of the airport that was extended, where the runway was extended. And you can see the work here is not as dark as the default. It looks a little bit more developed, looks a little bit nicer. There you can see runway extends all the way out. You've got 9,000 feet of runway now, and the whole thing looks very nice. Very nice indeed. So we just move across the end of runway 23 threshold here, so you can have a look at the detail. There's some nice weathering on the rocks, on the brickwork there, which looks really quite nice. Vehicles coming down a steep hill there. Just move out in towards the bay. Detail looks very nice, no problem at all there. So back at the southwestern end again, here's the fire station. Models look very nice. Very detailed, they look really good there. Got slight anomalies as you get closer. But they look quite good. They're weathered, nicely done. The vehicle models, as you can see, generally of a very good order. And down there you can see buildings, freight bits and pieces, ramp clutter and other stuff on the landside part of the buildings. So let's just have a closer look here. Go across from airside to landside and just look at what's going on here. Things keep disappearing and reappearing. But there you've got people. We'll go inside the building in a minute and have a look. And you've got solar panels on the roof, which is nice. Landside roads look good here, flags everywhere. And there's a shot of the landside part of the terminal. and you've got Cristiano Ronaldo's picture here. But the flags are animated, which is nice. There's the footbridge that goes across to the terminal, and the car parking, everything is nicely detailed. So a little closer look at the terminal landside here. Everything looks great, really nicely defined. The models are good, trees are lovely. I like the way the trees are placed. And the landside car park models are quite good. I can't see too many any anomalies amongst them, which is good. And in the other direction, again looking really nice with the airport sign. So this is the landside road on the upper level, and you can see in through the glass, and you've got seating there, parked cars, which is great. There's so many sceneries with beautifully developed landside roads by the terminal and not a single car to be seen. But it's not true of this scenery. And they're looking in the other direction, really nice. So as you can see, we're inside the glass now, and you've only got, I can't actually see any doors or entrances. But that's okay, and you've got those seating bits and pieces up there at the other end. I would assume that this block here is the entrance, but it's as I say, there are no door representation on the outside of the building. Okay, going through that wall on the left, as you can see, no develop here on the ground floor, no development at all here. If we go up couple of levels there, you can see there is some development here on the departures level. So here you've got check-in desks with false glass on the front here, departures and arrival signs, and all the way down there, and there's also some seating there too, which is fine. So there's some development here on the departures level, and there's the roof looking northeast. And looking southwest there, you've got the various air conditioning units and pipework on the roof. Here's the tower, and as you can see, I don't think there's anything inside. We'll have a quick look. As you can see, nothing inside. However, you can see out through some sort of fake glass, which is nice. And there's the same view in the other direction. And a quick look over this airside terrace, you can see you've got people. They're not animated, but they are there, which is a nice touch. Obviously all standing there watching the aeroplanes and admiring stuff. Nice building textures and brickwork there. Oh, and there's a door. And here is a sort of a doorway that goes through to the other side, and again you've got people here below the sign, and there's our world famous footballer himself. All looks really nice, to be honest. You get a few little anomalies. Here's one, for example, where the bus isn't really done properly in the right place. But all of this is nice, detailed and crisp, and although you have a lot of ramp clutter, you are still able to park your aircraft, so that's not bad at all. Nice touch there, looking out to sea, and in the other direction you can see the airport's been nicely done, and it is a big improvement on the default. The ground ramp markings look really good, and there are approach signs to the runway as well. So let's turn the lighting down and see how it looks. Okay, 5:15 in the evening local time. As you can see, the sun's going right down now. The lighting's come on and the ramp's lit, and just to the right there in the distance you can see the lead-in strobes on the cliff edge that bring you into runway 05. Lighting looks quite dim, but it might look better when we get down a bit lower. As you can see, you've got green centerline taxiway lighting, which is good. Just looking at the runway, there you've got centerline lighting and the edge is defined quite pleasantly. We've already looked at the other end. You've got all the things you need. The only thing this area is missing is the high intensity airfield lighting system, which presumably has been substituted for this. So So just getting a bit closer here, you can see the ramp signage. The sentinel lights look good, but the ramp signage is quite dull because the light doesn't seem to stretch far enough, probably. But again, that might improve going into the full nighttime mode. But what you do see, of course, is you've got the light stanchions with the lights, and the area is correctly lit under the source, which is just something I like. So let's just traverse across the airside ramp, have a look at the lighting generally. Nice effect there looking into the building on the left. Control tower is pretty dark, unfortunately, but the building is reasonably lit. As I said, only really minimal internal work's been done to the building. Lots of jumping about here with some of the ramp clutter, particularly as you can see these vehicles, and many little vehicles seem to sort of appear and disappear at will. Not really sure why that is. But looking quite nice. There's one of the runway entry signs there, nice and bright, you can see that. And there we're looking past the fire station there. Some of the vehicles are lit, which is good. And there you can see some building lighting down there, which looks very pleasant. Windsocks should be lighted as far as I remember. From the charts they're supposed to be lighted. And there you can see the roads on the north side of the runway. And you can also still see the boundary fence here. So just looking at the other direction on the road that's going uphill there, lots of traffic going up the hill, looks really pleasant. Again, here you can see the lighting. A lot of this is due to the various Osobo globes sitting all over the place, but probably in this case they're quite helpful. And a last look at the ramp there. Let's go landside of the airport now and have a look and see what that's like. Right, here we are landside looking at the building. As you can see, the roads are lit, cars are still there. Everything looks quite pleasant. Still quite a few of these look like Osobo globes all over the place. But you've still got the stanchion lights here that light up the area properly. Some of them can't quite see. Oh yes, they are actually on. It doesn't look as though some of them are on. But it's all okay. And you've got this nice effect here where you're looking in through the glass to the building and you can see some of the seating there. And you've got your check-in desks. And there's the road, goes landside. And from the other direction, looks really pleasant. No problem at all there, looks very pleasant. So an overview of the landside and airside part of the airport there just generally. Let's turn the light down right down to night time now and have a look and see if this lighting improves or changes in any way. Okay, 9:15 in the evening local time. As you can see, the lighting has come up a bit. Certainly the ramp area looks brighter and the landside area is nicely lit. The overall effect is very pleasant. Let's go have a close look at the runways while we're here at night time. Firstly, runway 05. So here we are just after 9:15 PM in the evening. As I said, it's really night time, total darkness. This is the approach to runway 05. No high intensity runway lighting system right in front of the runway, but you have end identifier lights, centerline lighting, touchdown zone lighting and PAPIs either side. So it certainly conforms with the charts as near as possible. And while we're at this end, let's go and have a close look at these lead-in lights. So there they are. You've got essentially a complete set of strobes along the shore wall. You can see the stanchions here, but you can't actually see the lights on top of them. In fact, the stanchions are missing here. There's two there. Can't really quite see the source of this light. Let's try and get down a bit lower, have a look. Right, there you go. Now you can see the poles are all there and they have lights on the top of them, and of course you can see them up to this one, and harder to see as it goes into the distance. So that's a visibility thing, not a problem at all. So a quick run across the ramp. As you can see, the lighting has really improved. It's really come up quite a bit, more so than when it was at dusk. And again, I'm looking at the ramp clutter, which looks okay. There are bits and pieces, some things that appear and disappear, but generally looks quite pleasant. No problem at all. Markings are good. Control tower is completely dark apart from the lighting on the outside of the structure. Airport signs lightly lit. All looks really good. And pilots should be aware that there are no landings and takeoffs permitted between midnight and 0600 local time. So midnight's the last time you could get in here, and 6 AM is the first departure out. And there we are, looking towards the threshold of runway 23. And the lighting in the road below us looks quite pleasant too. So still plenty of these little Sobo globes glowing all over the place. As you get kind of low like this, they do kind of spoil it. Interesting thing here is that the globes seem to be lighting the road, not these lamps. Let's get a bit lower. Okay, the ramps are actually on, and here we've got another little anomaly. You've got foliage blocking the road here. So those lamps are on, but they're not exactly lighting up the road correctly. Well, some are, it would appear, and some aren't. Nice, you still see the flags animated, tracking landside here across the terminal. Some cars here with nothing on them, just blank models. I think that, again, that might be a visibility issue. We go close up and suddenly the vehicle will appear in its full glory, I believe. But looks nice, the flags look good, buildings look good. And as you can see, generally the ambience here is very nice. The sort of the whole atmosphere with the lighting looks good. This airport, as does many airports, come to life. They come to life at night in the darkness hours. Looks very good. And there you go with the fuel, part of the fuel farm there. Bit of flickering, but nothing special. Very pleasant. So as you can see, at night time the airport looks really quite pleasant. So quick look at dawn. Let's turn the lighting up. Okay, 5:15 in the morning then. Just 45 minutes before the first takeoff is permitted. You can see we still have a little bit of lighting, and the effect is quite pleasant. Looks really, really quite pleasant. So let's turn it up to 6 AM. So there's the same view at 6 AM, which is the earliest point in which you can do a takeoff. As you can see, all the lighting's gone out now, and you've got the sun coming right up on the right hand side there. Looks pretty pleasant. And looking in the other direction, you can still see the lead-in strobes flashing away there. And here's the boundary fence below us. So there you go. That's wind up this review. Thank you for staying with me. What do I think? I've read some of the reports in the forums. Various people seem to think that there's so much missing from the airport. There are one or two people who live here who have sort of criticised it in bits and pieces. There are little issues, most of it due to sometimes, from what I can see, sort of irregular modelling. As I say, vehicles appearing and disappearing on the airside ramp and jumping around a bit. The default airport is perfectly acceptable if that's what you want. You don't want to pay the money, it's perfectly okay. But this airport, this add-on, I think is quite good, and it adds quite a bit, and it's very, very nice. And price-wise, it's excellent. I mean, you can't grumble. It's about a tenner UK, including the tax, and that's not bad at all. Some airports that aren't as good as this are being sold around the 17-18 euro mark, which is a bit over the top, really. But I think this add-on is quite pleasant. It adds a lot of the things missing from the default and makes it, just generally tidies it up and makes it look good. And the WaterFix freeware add-on that you get, the 20k one that's available on flightsim.to, is also really useful. What it does is it fixes some of the trees, obviously not all of them. You can see there's been a tree issue down here, but it fixes most of the trees along the coastline, and that to sort of cover some of the roads on many of the islands, not just Madeira here. And it also cures water masking that was going up this hill here and going up here as well, that is also seen when you add this airport. So the WaterFix is a nice little free download which basically just completes the whole lot. As I said, I had a terrain issue, but that was because I had Asobo's default aircraft loaded underneath this. So you must disable or remove the default Asobo airport if you want this one to work, so there are no terrain issues and no other anomalies. But for a tenner, as I say, €8.44, or sorry, €10.06, or £8.44, or $11, I think it's perfectly acceptable. It adds quite a lot. For the record, AmSim have taken note of some of the complaints and comments that they've got, and they are working on an update. The one you see here is version 1.1, and I believe another version update is in the works. But personally, I think it's certainly worth the price. It's from Orbix. The issues with the airport have certainly raised a number of points in the Orbix forum, certainly as well, about whether Orbix should have a customer level, a customer quality, or customer charter, so that all of their partners who decide to become partners with Orbix should have at least a certain level of customer service and response before they stay partners. I certainly agree with that. But as a scenery, it's lovely. I think it's great. It does exactly what it says on the tin, and if AmSim continue to listen to the complaints and the suggestions and work on updates to improve it still further, it's a bargain. Everybody wins. But for £8 plus tax, it's in my opinion, it's definitely worth it to have. But also, I'll add the caveat that the default airport is quite acceptable too. So if you don't want to buy an add-on airport, but you still fancy flying in here, it has pretty much everything you need to be able to complete the standard approaches that this airport is famous for. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me and watching this review. I hope you found it useful. Happy to take any comments you want to make in the comment section below. I bought this scenery. It wasn't given to me free to review. I bought it and decided I would review it, basically due to the notoriety that seems to have got in the forums at the moment. But all I can say is, personally, I find it quite good. It's certainly better, an improvement on the default, although the default is quite acceptable. And anyway, thank you for joining me in the review. Hope it's been useful. This is Lee, Virtual Airline Pilot, saying thanks again, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye for now.